Welcome back to another edition of United Football here on Salt City FC, the podcast about soccer in the great state of Utah and beyond, all about Utah soccer, whether it's players who were born here, who came here, who just played even professionally or at this point semi-professionally here. I'm your host, Sean Walker, once again back for another edition of the show. And I wanted to stick on the theme a little bit with this Utah United men's side because some pretty big news happened this week, even though they weren't actually playing when it officially happened, when it got them over the line. Utah United, the men's team, joined the women's team, I guess I should say. They technically clinched it first as Mountain Division champions. So the Utah United double, I guess we're going to call it. And to talk a little bit about the success of this second-year program here in USL League Two, I've got local standout, former Skyline High School star, #GoEags, and Oregon State standout,
Ellis Spikner.
Back with United for another season. And here, I guess, making its debut on the pod. So thanks for joining me for a minute, Ellis.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Ellis, let's dive right into it, man, because where were you the night when you found out Utah United were Mountain Division champions? Because you guys weren't playing. You were off that week, and Flatirons could still catch you at that point. They needed to drop some points. They wound up doing it. So where were you, and how did you kind of find out that you guys had just won the division?
Yeah, I was actually just hanging out with some friends, and I got a text from my dad, and he's saying congratulations, and I saw the group chat was blowing up, and everybody's sending memes and everybody saying let's go, all of that. So I would say it was still great news. Obviously it's tough to not be with your team when you find out, but it was still great news, and we enjoyed it.
Were you surprised at all? I mean, winning the division title, because there were a couple of moments there kind of midway through the season where you guys lost a game or two, and there were sort of some shock moments where you had to You took a gut punch and you had to rally back in some ways. So did any of sort of how the regular season ended up in League Two play surprise you?
I mean, I wouldn't say I was shocked at all. I think we kind of we knew what we expected ourselves to do, and we set kind of high standards. I would say the only regret is that we had it in our hands last week when we were in Denver, and we needed a 4-point weekend really to clinch the title, and we ended up with 3. And so that was kind of, I would say that was a little bit of frustration after that, because it was right in our hands, and you hate to have to look at the standings and look at other results and see what happens. But yeah, I would say in general, I think we knew that when we were at our best, we're a really tough team to beat. But yeah, definitely throughout the season, especially playing so many games, you have to be dialed in all the time. So definitely, I would say not without adversity. There were some ups and downs, like you talked about. A couple of dropped results that we learned from, and I think made us better as a team. But I would say it was not easy. There are some other difficult teams in our division, especially playing away. We had a game at Flatirons that was rainy, and we had kind of a lot of controversy. And so getting through that, I think inevitably it was good for us, but in the moment it was difficult.
Well, yeah, for sure. And kind of tough to sort of just be sitting there waiting around while you're on a little bit of a bye week and watching these Colorado teams play each other, tracking the table and the standings, and kind of doing some math in your head, who's eliminated, who's not, who can still catch, that sort of thing. I'm sure that was pretty tough. But you touched on it a little bit right there, being able to bounce back from a couple of dropped results, dropped games even. What was so special about this team where you guys, it feels like you guys showed a lot of resilience, where every time maybe there was a step back, you were able to take 2 steps forward off of it?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the reason for that, I have a lot of respect for Mark. He is very mentality driven, I would say. And so kind of creating the culture, creating our identity where it's like we're going to work through it. He likes to say, like, you put your hard hat on, like we got to kind of grind. I think that's a big part of it, starts to develop that resilience. And then as a team, when you feel that and you know that your coach has it, it gives you more confidence in these tough situations. So I would give a lot of credit to him for building that culture, and then a lot of credit to the guys who, coming from different colleges, we have a great team of guys who all get along, which I think is kind of unique. And I would say, in my career, I've played with a lot of teams where it's going to be some people, not necessarily they don't get along, but it's a little bit cliquey. It's a little bit different. And I feel in this group, everybody wants to work for each other, which I think as well in the difficult moments, that's what stands through. Like you have the guy next to you. So I think those two things together are helping us a lot with creating kind of the team identity.
Well, and on that note, a little bit, I mean, this team, it does kind of feel in a lot of ways like it's led by the group. Any number of guys or anyone in particular can kind of step up and stand out on any given day. I think the leading scorer right now is I believe Ali Silva has 3 goals, and that's sort of the lead scorer. You've got 2 right behind him. There are a couple of goals. Oh, he just barely scored his 4th. So he's got 4 goals. You're right behind him with a couple of goals, a couple other guys on the team with 2 or 3 goals. And that's just sort of how you guys have played, I guess, is you get goals from a little bit of everybody. You're big fans of that build-up play, kind of sharing the ball with one another. Does that just speak to sort of how deep this team is, where you kind of got to pick your poison, I guess, if you're going up against Utah United?
Yeah, I mean, I would say going back kind of to identity, we're a team that we have players that really want to keep the ball. And I think that it helps us. And we know that when we play like that and when we value the ball and move teams, that's when we're successful. And so we kind of have to stick to our identity because that's where we're at our best. But like you said, we have also Samir Cuevas, who has come off the bench in a lot of games, but also has 4 goals, maybe 4 goals, something like that. So we have a lot of different players that are, 1, that are contributing, but 2, that are positive, even if they're not necessarily in starting positions, which I think as well says a lot about the team and says a lot about the coaching. And I think that's one of the most difficult things in teams is to keep players who are potentially not happy with their position happy, you know what I mean? And keep them hungry. And so, I think Mark is doing a great job. We have a lot of good players that like to play with each other. So it's very enjoyable, I would say.
Well, yeah, and I think it seems like it's really enjoyable because there are a lot of players on this team as well that maybe they play college soccer in the state of Utah, or they grew up playing youth soccer in Utah like you did. Again, another mention, #GoEags, Skyline High School, that dominant program out there in the Salt Lake Valley. And you're one of these guys who you went to high school in Salt Lake City. You were born in Michigan, spent some time in the greater Chicagoland area, I think is how we refer to all of those 500 suburbs out there, right? And then you spent your teenage years here in Utah. You were captain of the Utah One's ODP program, won a Region 4 title with that ODP group. And then you kind of left and you went. There aren't a ton of high-level Division I college soccer opportunities in the Beehive State. So you found something that you liked at Oregon State. You signed with the Beavers. You were there for 5 years playing with them. And now you're back playing with Utah United. What kind of brought you back to, I won't quite call it your home state. You weren't born here and you spent a lot of time, Michigan and Chicago, between that area, but to a state where kind of you had some family and you grew up playing to some extent. What kind of brought you back to Utah and to United in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I would say a few different things. Obviously, my family is here, and so that was kind of a big one. I knew that I wanted to play near them until I found a professional team, and so it's been a while. They've come to a few games at Oregon State, but it's travel, so it's nice that they're able to come see my games. That was a big part of it. And then I knew about Mark, and I hadn't met him before this summer, but I knew about his coaching style, and I knew about the way that he, I would say, or his motto is demand excellence, and the way that he drives groups. And I knew that I had to be somewhere where I'm improving, and that's kind of, I think, the most important thing, especially in this summertime, is that you're with good players and you're with good coaches who are going to make you improve. And so that was a big part of it. I would say those are kind of the two things. Like, I wanted a good environment, and I wanted to be close to my family until I found a team while my agent was working. So, yeah.
For sure. Well, and you found a great team there up in Corvallis at Oregon State. We'll give a plug or two to the Beavs for what they were able to do, taking this sprightly forward from Salt Lake City, from a really good program, and turning him into a strong Division I player. 10 goals, 11 assists in 57 matches. Started 33 games in Corvallis. Reading this straight off of your bio there. Second team All Pac-12 as a junior in 2023. That was kind of your big breakout year. Breakout year for the team in general. 11-6-5. You guys went to the College Cup semifinals that season as well. You had 4 goals, a couple more assists. I think you had a goal and an assist and a banger of a game against SMU in the NCAA tournament, if I remember. I think it was SMU, if I remember that one right. And then it felt like kind of coming off of that within the next few months, and some rumors have been swirling, and then eventually got to the point where the Pac-12 kind of started to dissolve around you guys, around Oregon State and Washington State in particular. College football fans know obviously what conference realignment has done, and it really sort of it played something serious, I think, on you guys, because you were riding this incredible high during your career, and then the conference just sort of falls apart around you. You guys ended up finding a home in the West Coast Conference. The WCC took in a lot of Oregon State sports and that sort of thing. But I think there was a question around a lot of people and about what would happen with you guys on your roster, because you came to play Pac-12 soccer. You wanted to play at the height of college soccer on the West Coast. All due respect to WCC, it's a very good soccer conference, I think, but it just probably, I imagine it wasn't what you expected when you first committed to Oregon State in a lot of ways. And yet you stuck with them, came back for your final year last year, earned all WCC honors as a fifth-year senior. I'll throw that out there as well. Was there ever a moment where you considered transferring away just because of kind of the chaos that was around you, or were you pretty stuck in and committed to Oregon State and that project?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say there was a moment when I thought about transferring. Playing in the Pac-12 is serious, you know what I mean? Like you play games every week, and the difference between the top and the bottom is almost no points wise. And so every game is really difficult. Going and playing at Stanford, playing at UW, playing at Berkeley, all of these teams, it's a fight. You know what I mean? Like the games are really tough. And because we play everyone twice, tactically it's a difficult matchup because they've seen the way that we play. So I would say going from the Pac-12 to the WCC was a big change, because in the WCC you have some teams who are lower in the RPI, but if you lose, it can really hurt your chances of going to the tournament just because of the RPI ratings and everything like that. So it's completely different. I would say it's a different pressure because you can't drop games really in the WCC, and you play good teams as well. But yeah, I would definitely say I thought about transferring after my junior year, after with all the realignment, and we actually had just gotten a new coaching staff that year. But that's kind of what kept me there. Is I knew, obviously I was close with, the players that I play with now for a few years. And then I was close also with the coaching staff. And so I decided to stay one more season. But it was just a lot of unknowns, kind of going into the new conference. You don't know how the teams are going to be. It was just completely different, but it's also a lot of unknowns with transferring. So it's kind of, you never know what you're going to get if you go to a new program. And so that's why I decided to stay and be with my guys for one more year. That was important to me. I have really, really close relationships with a lot of them. So, yeah, that's what kept me there.
I love that answer, and I love that response. I guess the easy follow-up, and maybe I'll dive a little bit deeper into it, but the easy follow-up is, are you glad that you stayed? Are you glad that you stuck through it? And what maybe did you learn about yourself through your fifth-year senior season that maybe you didn't know before by being able to kind of stay with the project amidst all of that chaos and that confusion and learning a little bit of a new system and a new conference and all that? What did you kind of learn about yourself?
Learned a lot. I would say I learned how to be a better leader. As a captain there, going through so many changes, you have to learn how to manage the group and how to keep people certain, even in uncertain situations. You know what I mean? And just to keep them together. So I would say that was a big thing that I learned. I'm not going to say that I was happy with my last season. It was a little bit difficult with some injuries and rotations and things like that. So it's difficult for me to say, do I wish I transferred? I wish I, you know what I mean? But it's also kind of a thing of the past. So I don't see a point in really wishing what happened was different, because it's already gone. So, but I'm very glad that I was able to spend more time with my teammates. The guys that I had played with for a long time then, and the guys that had been through the coaching changes and been through the realignment with me and been through all of that stuff. I really consider my brothers. So I'm very grateful that I was able to spend more time with them. I would say the season itself was difficult a little bit for me individually, but I learned a lot about how to be a good leader and how to come back from difficult situations, adversity, injury, stuff like that. So all in all, I learned a lot.
I love it. And that's what college is about. It's about finding yourself. It's about figuring out who you are. It's about adapting sometimes who you are and responding to change and tough times, even responding to good times and getting better off of that, right? Like that's a big part of college. And it sounds like you had the full college experience going off to play college soccer at Oregon State, which I think is great. And on that subject of spending more time with your players or your teammates, getting to know them a little bit, you get a little bit more time with your teammates as well at Utah United. You guys are in the playoffs. The postseason starts for you guys coming up here mid-July. You'll be heading out. You head straight to the round of 32. If I'm reading some of these USL League Two playoff rules, and everything as a division champion. So how are you guys just kind of approaching the postseason and what's kind of I think you used the word mindset. What's the mentality of this team as you shift to, the second season, the playoff part, the postseason?
Yeah. I mean, I think the mindset is always that you have to go one game at a time. We have to win. And I think that it comes from the training environment. I think there are certain things that you can control, and that's the way that you train, the way that you prepare. And so I think that's going to be the main focus of the group, and the mindset of the group is we focus on training on Monday and then training on Tuesday, and you don't look too far ahead about, the situations and the games and kind of everything around it. And instead you just focus on what I can improve right now. So I think it's going to be important to be level-headed. I think it's going to be important that the players understand their roles and don't try to go off script in the games, and they're ready for the moment based on training. I think that's going to be what's super important, is that everybody's prepared, and then it's just about execution. So I'm excited for playoffs. Obviously, games like this is when you see real players because there's a little bit of pressure. So I'm really excited to get to it and to show everybody what we can do.
For sure. Well, and you've got a lot of people in Utah that are cheering you guys on. Like I said, it's been a historic double between the United men and the United women side, both Mountain Division champions. The United women, by the way, just barely opened up the USLW League playoffs with a dub. So we're going to throw some of that karma on you guys, on the Utah United men's team, on Ellis Spikner in particular. I want you to double your goal tally from the season in the first game of the playoffs. That's the karma I'm sending your way. I don't know if that's actually possible at all, but play the game. Yeah. We're gonna throw goals, assists. We're gonna throw everything at you in the form of good karma. For joining us here on United Fútbol, the United Fútbol podcast on Salt City FC. Ellis, thanks so much. Really do appreciate it. And good luck to you. Good luck to your teammates with Utah United as the playoffs get underway in USL League Two. And good luck to you as you try to begin your professional career now that college soccer's in the past.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for the good karma. Thank you for all of it.